This year for the Brooklyn Nets has been an incredibly odd one to say the least, as they have had more ups and downs than almost any team in the entire NBA. A year full of headline after headline regarding Kyrie not being an eligible participant on the team, to Harden not playing his greatest at the start of the season, or just the team's inability to play at their full potential and dominate the way they're supposed to. This team is now back in the rightful discussion of being the best team in the NBA with Kyrie's return, and they are now looking to fulfill the legacy they are trying to create and live up to the hype that is currently surrounding how this may be one of the best trios to ever play together, and even could very well be one of the best teams of all time solely based on the names on the back of their jerseys. With that comes unreal expectations that are placed on them that either leave fans devastated or ecstatic when those expectations are put to rest and they don't end up achieving what most people believed they would. As this team gets closer and closer to full strength, many people are once again beginning to believe that the Nets are going to go all the way this year, and now once again hold the best odds to hoist the Larry O.B. in June. What if I told you though that their path to a championship may be a lot harder than it was last year, all because of the fact that there is one thing and one thing only standing in the way from the Brooklyn Nets winning their first ever NBA championship, and before anyone says it, it is not the Durant injury, as luckily he's only going to be missing 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained ACL, and I say luckily only because the injury appeared far worse on TV than what actually happened, and I think everyone wants to see a healthy KD playing basketball. But the thing holding the Brooklyn Nets from winning the championship this year all has to do with Kyrie Irving and the decision this team has to make regarding Kyrie's availability without being vaccinated on this team. I completely understand that this team fully can win with Kyrie being a part-time player or even a non-participant on this team, just because KD and Harden are superstars in the NBA, but I think that without Kyrie, the team faces a lot more challenges and their chances of winning the title are affected tremendously as well, which I will get into later in this video. Also, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video. Many people know there was a mandate preventing any unvaccinated player to play in New York, and obviously this was something that drew every headline across the web for Kyrie, as it is publicly known that he did not choose to receive the vax, so the team decided that he could no longer be a part of any team activities until further notice, and Kyrie respectfully agreed to the consequences of him making this decision. This has now changed, and Kyrie Irving has been playing in all the away games for the Nets over the past couple of weeks, and if you want to know more about this, I have put a link to one of my previous videos where I went in depth about this situation that you can watch after this video. But there is now very intriguing news that just came out about this situation, and it plays a massive role that may potentially alter things for not just the Nets but the entire NBA. And this news is the fact that there is a potential loophole that the Brooklyn Nets could utilize if they wanted to play Kyrie Irving in more than just away games for the team, and this news has been growing with plenty of attention over the past couple of days. The loophole that was just brought to the attention of many is that if Kyrie were to play in home games in Brooklyn, there would be a variety of consequences that would follow, which is obvious, but the thing is that these consequences aren't as bad as you may think, which makes us as NBA fans really intrigued with what this team is going to decide for this whole situation. The consequences are as follows. The team would be fined if they make the decision to play him at home, and the penalty starts with a warning on the first offense, then proceeds to a $1,000 fine, then $2,000, then after that it would be no less than $5,000 for every game Kyrie would play in New York. This is something that does seem like a ton of money for the everyday individual, of course, yet this is the Brooklyn Nets we are talking about here, and they have billions of dollars up their sleeves. Not to mention how big of an impact Kyrie would have if he were able to play in home games as well, being one of the best point guards in the NBA, and if he were to win the championship this year, the team would be bringing in a whole lot more money than the cost of how much it would be to pay the fines against Irving. It is no question that when Kyrie Irving is on the floor with the Brooklyn Nets, he makes this team better in almost every facet, as he is an extremely gifted player that can do literally everything offensively. The chemistry he shares with some of the guys on this team is also just something to keep an eye on, as it was clearly evident how ecstatic some some of the guys on this team were for his return. But this entire situation revolves around if the Brooklyn Nets are willing to make this massive decision for the franchise. Paying the fines wouldn't be the problem for the Nets, it's more of the principle surrounding the decision, as the team at first made it clear that they were making decisions to put the health of others first over basketball by not allowing Irving to play. That decision remained as is for this franchise until recently, and as the pressure for this team continues to rise, as they are somewhat in need to be in a position to win a championship now, especially with the team they've built, but also to ensure that some of these stars remain together so they can hopefully continue to dominate the NBA for more than just a few seasons. Since the team was shocked in last year's playoffs by the Bucks, it makes the need for them to win this year that much greater, and it puts the team in a rather tricky position to go completely against what they decided earlier in the season, which can look very bad from a third-person point of view. In no way am I going to give my opinion on what exactly the team should do, since one, I honestly don't really know what the best case is, but I also just wanted to display the two sides of the story in the decision this team needs to make to open discussion amongst you guys. Since Kyrie is only a part-time player as of right now, this doesn't really affect too much in terms of the regular season, as the team is comfortably sitting in a playoff spot and they play almost exactly half of the rest of their games away from New York. Where the decision would begin to play a massive impact is when the team eventually makes it to the playoffs. Kyrie would obviously only be able to play in half the games in a playoff series if the conditions regarding if he can play remains the same, and this would also mean that if the Nets retain a top seed in the East, he could miss out on playing potential Game 7 matchups. This is where the decision becomes very rough, yet I just wanted to touch upon the significance Kyrie would have if he were to be playing in all of the Nets' potential games. Yes, this team has struggled at times this season, especially to some of the best teams in the league, as they are only 14-11 against teams above 500, but in a 7-game series, having all KD, Kyrie, and Harden in a lineup together is almost impossible to stop, if not impossible altogether, and no matter what, it's very hard to tell me otherwise, simply because of the overhaul of weapons this team has. Having all three of these guys in the lineup together is something that surprisingly we have not seen far too often at all, but when we have, it has been nothing short of spectacular, and they have absolutely dominated in most of those games. This season, the Nets are 2-0 with all three in the lineup, which even saw them absolutely destroy the Chicago Bulls, who do hold the #1 seed in the East, and in total they are 12-3 in those games. The team averages an insane 122 points per game, and one of the biggest reasons as to why the team didn't manage to take home the title last year was one, because the Bucks showed that they did compete with the Nets, not to take anything away from them, but the Nets were definitely not 100% healthy during that series and were only able to play in one total game altogether, where Harden actually got hurt in the very first minute of the game, so I don't know if it really counted. Kyrie Irving being a part of this team clearly makes them better, simply because he is and has been a proven all-star in his career. So whether this team decides that they want to either allow him to play and take the fines or not is going to play a massive role on the potential champions of the NBA this season, especially since Durant also just faced an injury of his own, but fingers crossed that he returns soon and healthier than ever. All in all, that is going to bring an end to this video, as I honestly don't know when this decision will be made, if it is ever made, but the Nets definitely have some pressure to win this season with all the expectations, so I'm definitely looking forward to how this is gonna go down. As always, be sure to comment what you think about this situation, as I'm very interested what you guys have to say, and I will be responding to a lot of you guys. And if you did like this video, be sure to hit that like button, as it helps the video getting shared along YouTube's algorithm, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more NBA content like this that I will be posting multiple times per week. Thank you all for watching this video, and I hope you all have a great night.